It's taken up right here by the screen. Runs right into Griner's shoulder.
The WNBA doesn't deserve Caitlin Clark, and I know that's a strong way to open, but stick with me because by the time we get to the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why I said that. They have the most electric, the most marketable, the most transformative player in the history of women's professional basketball sitting right in their lap.
Is playing defense. Brittney Griner lowers the shoulder and clocks her in the jaw. Like, I'm sorry, this is the shit that Conor McGregor did to Cowboy Cerrone that broke his face. Like, she drops her shoulder and then turns it in.
A once-in-a-generation talent who single-handedly dragged their league from obscurity into mainstream conversation. And instead of protecting her, instead of building a wall around her and making sure she can actually play the game she's revolutionizing, they keep handing opposing players a free pass to knock her around with zero accountability. Game after game. Season after season. Hit after hit.
Griner throwing elbows at Caitlin Clark. Brittney Griner shoving Caitlin Clark. Brittney Griner just can't help herself. She has periods throughout the game where she just acts aggressively. Dare I say, too aggressive? Brittney Griner was letting Caitlin Clark know, hey, Caitlin, you ain't part of this club. You ain't part of this club. No matter what you say or what you do, just know you will never be part of this club.
And now, the latest chapter in this ongoing nightmare comes courtesy of Brittney Griner and a moving screen so blatant, so obvious, so completely impossible to miss, that you genuinely have to ask yourself whether the referees were even watching the same game as everyone else. Griner's shoulder checked Clark with a moving screen. The contact sent Caitlin crashing to the floor. And the referee, the one standing directly in front of the play with a front row seat to the entire thing? Not a whistle. Not a call. Nothing. Just silence while the play went the other way and Clark picked herself up off the hardwood. Again. The internet erupted. Fans went absolutely nuclear. And honestly, every single one of them had every right to.
Brittney Griner getting away with murder last night against CC22. Oh, Lord. How is this not a moving screen on Griner? Caitlin can't get a foul to save her life. Let's take a look, shall we? Ooh. Brittney put a little extra in that. A little extra elbow.
So, let's break down exactly what happened because some people will watch that and say it's just basketball. Contact happens. No. That is not what this was. A legal screen in basketball requires the player setting it to have both feet planted firmly on the ground, body completely stationary before any contact is made with the defender coming through. That is the rule. That is what every player in this league is taught from the time they first pick up a basketball. What Brittney Griner did was shift her entire body into Clark's path while still in motion, moving her shoulder directly into Clark before Clark even had a chance to adjust. That is a textbook offensive foul. That is a turnover. That is a call that should have been made without hesitation. The referee was right there. There was no bad angle. There was no obstruction blocking the view. There was absolutely no reason on earth why that whistle didn't blow, and yet nothing.
Somebody is a flagrant foul, as seen by this. As seen by this one right here. Caitlin Clark literally got called. She did the same thing. She turned her shoulder, except got someone in the chest on the screen, and it was given as a flagrant foul. If, like, you might say, oh, it's the same difference of Brittney Griner, so it should be a flagrant one. First of all, it was a no call.
Here's what makes this even harder to swallow. In one of these matchups against Griner's team, Clark played 36 full minutes and shot 0 free throws. 0. You tell me how a player who gets hacked, bumped, shoulder checked, and hit with moving screens all night long walks to the free throw line 0 times, and that adds up to fair officiating. It doesn't. It can't. The numbers tell a story that the referees keep refusing to acknowledge, and the replays back it up every single time. The only thing pretending this is normal basketball is the score sheet. Because nothing about what Clark has been forced to endure out there is normal. And it has been going on far too long for anyone to keep calling it coincidence.
Brittney Griner's elbow extending. And this wasn't called the moving screen? That's interesting. Caitlin Clark set a screen just like this against the Golden State Valkyries, and they nearly wanted to throw her out the game. But the referee, I think the referees are scared of Debo Griner. Big old Britt Griner. The refs are scared of her, but also the refs understand the assignment. Nah, you let Caitlin Clark get roughed up.
Now, let's zoom out and look at Brittney Griner specifically. Because this moving screen is not an isolated incident, and the history between Griner and Clark is a lot more complicated than just one rough play. Back in May 2025, Griner fouled out of a game against the Indiana Fever. Standard stuff, right? Except as she walked off the court toward the bench, cameras caught what appeared to be Griner directing something hostile toward Clark. The clip spread like wildfire across every platform overnight. People were stunned. The debate about what was actually said went on for days, and it put a massive spotlight on the tension that had clearly been building Griner and the league's biggest star. Griner later addressed the situation publicly, denying that she used any slur and saying she was angry about a foul call. But here's the thing, the damage was already done. The image of a veteran player appearing to direct hostility at Caitlin Clark, combined with the physical plays on the court, painted a picture that fans were not prepared to ignore. And that's where the phrase "Griner hates Clark" started picking up real steam online. It wasn't just a fringe take anymore. It was trending. Fever fans were furious. Clark supporters across social media were not just reacting to one clip, they were connecting dots. They were looking at the physical plays, the flagrant contact, the missed calls, the apparent attitude, and they were building a case. Now, we are not here to put words in anyone's mouth or declare a motive we can't prove. But what we can say with complete certainty is that the collection of incidents involving Griner and Clark has created a relationship that looks nothing like what any professional sports league should be comfortable with. Something is off. Everyone can see it. And the league's continued silence on the matter has only made the frustration worse.
Griner walks into Caitlin Clark and just shoves her, and then got called for a foul. So Caitlin's just trying to, how exactly is a foul on Caitlin Clark? How exactly is that a foul on Caitlin Clark? Response is that we're younger class. Let's not be crazy here. Freedom movement rules, you can't block a cutter, which is what she tried to do. Again, exactly what she tried to do. It doesn't matter. If Brittney Griner walks into Caitlin Clark, yes, she bumped the cutter. That is a foul on Caitlin Clark.
Here is what really gets people going, and rightfully so. The WNBA went on record and publicly stated that improving officiating was going to be a top priority. They said it out loud. They committed to it. They told fans and players alike that they were putting a major focus on cleaning things up and getting calls right. Music. So, what happened? Griner sets a moving screen, shifts her shoulder into Clark, sends her to the floor. The referee stands right there watching the whole thing unfold, and there is no call. If that public commitment to better officiating means anything at all, then someone inside the league office needs to come forward and explain how that play didn't draw a whistle. Fans are not asking for favoritism. They are not asking for Caitlin Clark to get a free pass on anything. They are asking for the rules to be applied equally and consistently. That is it. And right now, based on the evidence on the floor, that is not happening.
But Caitlin Clark is like the best in the world. So you are going to have a tough time. A lot of those shots Caitlin Clark made wasn't easy. They're contested. She's fading away from three. The girl's pulling up from Baghdad. I mean, what more could you do? Layla Khan was fouling nonstop. She did all she could to try to slow down Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark still goes and gets 25 points without a single free throw. It's obvious she doesn't get, the whistles like Asia Wilson, Paige Beckers, Breanna Stewart, but that's neither here nor.
And here's the piece of this puzzle that the numbers make undeniable. When the officiating is fair, when Clark actually gets to operate in an environment where the rules mean the same thing for every player on the court, the Indiana Fever are dominant. They win convincingly. Clark performs at the elite level everyone knows she's capable of. But the moment the whistles disappear, the moment opposing players figure out they can get physical without consequences, the whole dynamic shifts. That is not a coincidence. That is a direct cause and effect relationship, and it plays out consistently enough that it has stopped being debatable. Protecting Caitlin Clark is not about giving her special treatment. It is about enforcing the rules that already exist so she can play the game of basketball she has dedicated her life to. It just allows this to happen repeatedly, day in and day out.
Allows this to happen repeatedly, day in and day out. Man shouldn't be allowed to play in women's sports. Damn. Dirty ass man playing in the W should have just left his stupid ass in Russian jail. God damn. All Steph White did was scream at Cece to get up. She never protects her players or stands up for her players. Get up, Cece, get up. It was just an elbow to the face by a 7-footer.
Now, word has started to circulate that Griner is being spoken to about her conduct and her actions toward Clark. Reports and fan pressure are building from every direction, and the calls for real consequences are getting louder by the day. These are not just a handful of frustrated fans typing in all caps. This is a sustained, organized wave of supporters demanding that the league take meaningful action. Some are calling for suspensions. Some are calling for fines. And there is a growing segment of the fan base that is saying outright, if the pattern continues, Griner should not have a place in this league. Is that a dramatic take? Maybe. But you have to understand where that energy comes from. This is not one incident. This is not one bad play in a competitive game. This is a documented pattern of physical contact directed at one specific player combined with officiating that has consistently failed to address it, combined with on-camera behavior that raised serious questions about what is actually being directed at Clark when the cameras happen to catch the right angle. When you stack all of that up together, the frustration stops being dramatic and starts being completely reasonable.
But I've seen people be ejected for less. How's this to the head? If this was to the chest, bending down and shoulder charging, they've already shown. When Caitlin Clark did it, it was a flagrant one. That is the precedent that's been set. And now you're allowed not only do the same thing to Caitlin Clark and it's a no call, but you're allowed to do it to Caitlin Clark's jaw. So yeah, you are allowed to essentially shoulder barge Caitlin Clark and hit her with a damn haymaker. And it's a no call. Like, she is
Something has to be done. That is not an overreaction. That is the only honest conclusion you can reach when you look at the full picture of what has been happening to this player. Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball player anymore. She is the engine driving the entire WNBA's growth. She is the reason casual sports fans who never once tuned into a women's basketball game in their lives are now setting reminders for tip-off. She is the reason arenas across the country are selling out. She is the reason television deals are bigger. Sponsorship conversations are happening at levels the league had never experienced before. And the WNBA is suddenly part of the mainstream sports conversation in a way that wasn't even imaginable a few years ago. Clark did that. Her talent, her game, her presence did all of that for this league. And this is what she gets in return. Knocked to the floor on a moving screen with no call, while the league quietly tips its hat and moves on to the next game like nothing happened. That is not acceptable. It was not acceptable last season, and it is not acceptable now.
Runs through Caitlin Clark, foul on Caitlin Clark. They hate her, bro. Oh, what am I in store for here? What do we got here? Nothing about this is a basketball play. There is absolutely zero basketball play in this.
Caitlin Clark herself has never made a public circus out of any of this. She doesn't call players out by name in press conferences. She doesn't go on social media and air her grievances. She keeps her head down, keeps competing at an elite level, and keeps representing this league with a level of class and professionalism that most people in her position would have abandoned a long time ago. But the fans see everything. And right now, those fans are watching Brittney Griner shoulder check their favorite player to the hardwood floor, watching the referee stand there and do absolutely nothing. And they are asking one very straightforward question. When does this stop? Because if the WNBA doesn't come up with a real answer to that question, backed by real action, real discipline, and real accountability, then the fans are going to answer it themselves with their attention, with their viewership, with the volume of their voice across every platform this league depends on to stay relevant. And the WNBA should understand by now, after everything they have witnessed over the last 2 seasons, that when Caitlin Clark fans decide to make some noise, the whole world stops and listens.